One of the aspects of classic fighters that sets the airshow apart from others is the amount of effort and attention that's placed on the ground theatre features of the show. This year, the number of authentically costumed troops on the ground at the show increased dramatically. From First World War British Tommies and their counterpart German troops, through to World War II German paratroopers and their British and American foes. In addition to the troops, a number of new props were added to the show this year, including this replica Rolls-Royce armoured car. Constructed by a team of volunteers, this vehicle is representative of those used by the Royal Naval Air Service during the First World War. Built on a standard Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost chassis, these vehicles were initially used to protect airfields in Belgium, but later they were placed under the control of the British Army, and many were sent to the Middle East attached to cavalry units. By 1939, the British Army were using 150 of these armoured cars, some for home defence, but many still in the Middle East and India. As the war progressed, most were replaced by more modern vehicles. Another surprise for attendees at this year's show was the full-scale replica First World War British Mark IV tank, which replaced the original tank built for Classic Fighters 2001. The original tank was a full-size mock-up built on the back of a small truck, whereas this replica is a much more authentic vehicle, which is operated and moves much like the original. Spring Chicken, as it was nicknamed, is a male Mark IV armed with both machine guns and small 6-pound naval guns. The female versions were armed with machine guns only. With a top speed of only 4 miles per hour, these British tanks were by no means fast, but the awe-inspiring sight and sound of Spring Chicken certainly helps to illustrate why they were so feared by the Germans when the first Mark I tanks were used in the Battle of the Somme in September 1916. With North Africa as this year's theme, it was decided to paint several of the visiting Harvard aircraft in new colour schemes to represent various Axis aircraft seen in North Africa during World War II. First up were the machines representing the Curtiss Hawk 75s flown by the Vichy French Air Force. Prior to the war, the French Air Force purchased 730 Hawks, and after the fall of France in June 1940, a considerable number of these aircraft were transferred to North Africa to be operated by the Vichy French forces. During Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of North Africa in 1942, 4 Vichy Hawks strafed and attacked the American forces, attempting to land on the beaches. In addition to the 2 Harvard Hawks, a third aircraft was painted to represent an Italian Macchi Sieta, operated by the Regia Aeronautica, and initially developed in 1937. Over 1,100 Sietas were eventually produced, and as well as North Africa, they also saw action in Malta, Greece, Yugoslavia, and the Soviet Union. As with the Curtiss Hawks, Sietas were employed against the US forces in North Africa during Operation Torch, and through to the end of the North African campaign. The World War II ground theatre feature of the show would not be complete without the full-scale German Panther tank originally built in 2001. Like many of the other props, this tank illustrates the lengths to which the Classic Fighters team is prepared to go to make the show a spectacular one.